We're willing to accept some questions. I apologise we haven't got a roaming mic, but if anybody does want to ask any questions, if they shout loud enough, then I'll just kind of repeat them so that everybody else can hear. Are there any questions for Clive or any points anybody would like to raise about what we've been speaking about? Okay. Okay, so so the point that's been raised, which I'm going to chuck back at you and someone else who might be sitting in the audience, that the 5D as a camera for weddings isn't a quick enough focus pull, but also that there are issues with sound quality and monitoring sound. So over to you on that, Clive.
Well, I suppose it depends what you're going to do. You know, what? Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends on what type of film you're going to make. You know, for me, if I was to do a wedding, and occasionally for friends, I shoot stills at weddings, and I love photographing reportage weddings. And so, if I was to do it, and I'm not saying this is how you do it, I probably wouldn't use sound or sound bites. I would use an external recording device. That's how I would do it. I'm not saying that's the right way of doing it. Yeah, it depends on the type of film that the bride or groom might want, and that depends on how you pitch yourself as a photographer filmmaker. Quite possibly, quite possibly, but then they have to know that, and their expectation has to be set. If they want great looking pictures that look like film and not like a video, then they're going to have to accept the fact that you're going to have a sound man, and you're going to have more edit, and it's going to probably cost more money.
Are there any other questions? Anybody else? Or any other points? This gentleman. So, okay, so the question is whether prime lenses when shooting video are difficult to use on focus, and well, you're an expert on prime lenses and focus, so I'm sure you can answer that one.
Well, I'll give it a go. Yeah, look, it's not easy. Let's be honest. It's these lenses were created for stills cameras. They weren't created for video cameras. So again, it's expectation. You make the best of what you have. Now, I personally think that with practice you can do this, and I've proved it on certain projects. Following focus, though, is a really hard thing to do, and particularly for me, because I chose to shoot wide open at apertures of 1.2. I mean, for me, stop down is like about 2.8. So there's a slight madness involved in that. But I love this word bokeh.
Oh, the Japanese word, yeah. It's a shallow depth of field.
Yeah, and that look that only a prime can give you. And so originally, when I did the first short film at the V&A, I did it all by hand, and I was actually amazed at what I could do, even off the back of the camera and pulling focus. You've got to be so gentle with it, you've got to, it sounds almost strange, but I guess there's a degree of caressing the camera, etc., etc. Now, more recently, I've switched to, because it's becoming much more, dare we say, the project's bigger, I'm using bigger Manfrotto tripods, and I'm using Zacuto systems and pull focus systems, and I have only recently switched to a pull focus system or a follow focus system in the last, I think, month. I felt confident enough to do that, and also with the most important thing of all for me, and as I say, I use a Mark IV now as my preference than the 5D2. I love the 5D2, don't get me wrong, but it's the Zacuto, really, I don't know anybody else who makes this, but the eyepiece, what do you call that thing? I don't know, it's just an eyepiece.
Well, it's like a loop.
No, it's more than a loop, it's a viewfinder.
It's a super loop.
Anyway, this thing is. If you were to buy anything for your DSLR camera, or one thing for your DSLR camera, this is the thing to buy.
Is this easily available?
Yeah, it's about 300. I mean, it's not cheap. We bought one just the other week, and everyone I know at all levels are using this thing. It's like a it's like a box that sits on over the display.
Right.
And then it's got a diopter, and it's just amazing.
So that's really helping with the focus.
Oh, it's totally. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a revolution. It's just a little bit of an evolution. Until eventually manufacturers start to produce maybe shutterless cameras where you know, I mean, I think some manufacturers are already doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's making DSLRs quite like Canon, as good as, I mean everyone I know is using the 5D2 and the Mark IV. And for me, the Mark IV's advantages over the 5D2 are, one, its battery power. I mean, you don't have to think about batteries pretty much all day, and it's robust, but moreover, you can shoot the 50 frames a second, and in Final Cut, you can actually almost create what you would have normally had to go to a Phantom camera to create. And we've cheated stuff to look like 100 frames per second, particularly with this perfume commercial.
Yeah, and you said at the beginning that how you started with this whole thing was to self-finance a little film and pull the thing together and then show it to clients. What do you think is the best way to show clients if people are actually making short films at the moment? Quite a lot of them are large-size files. How do you actually get over that? Is it a question of putting things on websites? Is it a question of emailing links? Or what would you say? I know obviously you had a relationship already with that particular client.
Before you start talking about Vimeo or YouTube or a website or even Dropbox or you send it, I think you need to identify your market.
Right.
I think that's key to all of this.
Well, like in everything, you've got to work out who your client is.
If you're a wedding photographer, I mean, a good friend of mine is a wedding photographer, and he's about to make the switch, I think, to video.